What does Mike Tyson do that baseball players have to learn how to do? If you're a young baseball player out there, listen to this. If you're a coach of young baseball players, listen. If you're a parent of young baseball players, listen. This is something that is overlooked by athletes, especially younger athletes, amateur athletes. So as we look at Mike Tyson here, this is after Tyson already started his professional career. I looked at some videos of him as an amateur in 1983. His boxing style in this video here, and I'm not sure the year, but his style is totally different than it was when he first started as an amateur boxer. The biggest thing that you'll notice that's changed about Tyson from when he started his amateur career to as he got into his pro career and deeper into his pro career was his ability to control his center of mass and how connected he was to the floor. So Tyson was known as having the strongest punch, probably the strongest punch ever of any boxer. And I think this is exactly why he was able to do that. And I think if baseball players can learn how to adopt this technique that Tyson uses, I think it'll help you hit balls harder, farther, and throw balls harder and faster. So as Tyson runs through this movement into his trainer, a lot of boxers, what you'll think of is when boxers are moving, you'll think of them being on their toes or on the balls of their feet, bouncing around. Now that's what Tyson did when he first started as an amateur. He bounced around on his toes a lot. He was very light on his feet. And in baseball, you hear the same thing. Youth coaches will constantly say to their players, be on your toes, be ready, be on your toes, get on the balls of your feet. Problem with this is when you say get on your toes, what your meaning is be ready. At least I hope that's what you're meaning. You may actually mean for them to physically be on their toes, which is not always the best thing. So if you look at Tyson here, take a look at his feet. As Tyson approaches his trainer here, he gets flat-footed with every single step that he takes. And here he jumps to a 2-foot plant. So he is not bouncing around on his toes. He's not bouncing around on the balls of his feet. He's controlling his center of mass. Down, up, down, up. As he goes down, there's energy being transferred into the floor, which allows him to have a tremendous amount of power. Let's take a look at one of his punches. Or actually a punch sequence here. So in this punch sequence, Tyson's going to knock off the glove of his trainer with a left uppercut. But pay attention to his feet. That's the biggest thing. That's the tell here. That shows you how much energy is being applied to the ground and then back up through his fist. So if we look at his left foot here, as he plants, he's putting every bit of energy he possibly can into that left foot. It's completely flat. The pressure is in his heel, going straight down into that foot. And then he launches up. And if you pay close attention here, the foot hasn't moved yet. You see his pelvis start to rotate. His left foot, so that's this foot over here, that foot still hasn't moved. So as he starts to rotate his pelvis, there's no movement at that foot. Very similar to hitting. Okay, and then as he starts to extend that left hip even more, well then the foot starts to move, the heel comes off the ground. And again, foot's planted, drives up, heel comes off. He gets planted again into that left foot, fully flat into the ground. So it anchors him to the floor so he can drive all the way through the floor and get a tremendous amount of power into his punch. And then he explodes up with his hips again. And on that punch he knocks off the glove or the pad of his trainer. And this sequence here, this is a really interesting sequence. This reminds me of a catcher. So as a catcher goes through their footwork, it's important that they get planted back to the ground. So if you look at Mike Tyson's right foot, so his right foot would be over here. If you take a look at that foot, as he moves around to his left, he gets fully planted into that right foot. He's into it and then off of it immediately. But he gets fully planted into the floor with his full foot. He's not on the ball of his foot. He's not on his toe. Fully planted, and then he drives his hip up and then his fist. And he'll do it again. So if you take a look at the right foot, Right foot's planted, fully planted into the ground, drives the hips. Hips launch up, fists launch up, and then he comes off his heel. And then he does it again. Right foot's fully planted, sinks into it, drives up with the hips, throwing his punch through. And here you can even see Tyson working on that same movement. Right heel planted, hips firing through, fist going with it, and then fist finishing it. You can even see his trainer here talking about his feet. So we don't know what he's saying here, but there's an obvious connection to his ability to punch and his feet. If there wasn't, then this trainer wouldn't be pointing at his feet. He wouldn't be talking about his feet here. So your feet as an athlete are extremely important. That's what connects you to the ground. Most of your power is going to come from the ground. The energy that you throw into the ground and then back up through your body. Without being connected, fully connected to the ground, you cannot maximize your power.